So I really wanted to get together. No, that's stupid. This is why I don't usually script it.
Chat.
Yeah, it's a fireside chat. So sonic branding is one of those things that generally you don't hear a lot of people talk about until the enterprise level of the business world. But in reality, it's something everyone should be thinking about, especially when they're making videos or thinking about the way that people are going to perceive their brand in the world. Is your brand something that's more synth-based, futuristic sounding, vintage sounding, or are you going to be more organic? Lots of nature sounds and live recorded sounds. Same with music. Do you want more synth electronic-based music, or do you want to have that more emotional connection and have live players? A really classic example of this would be sodas, right? So if you go to the movie theater and you see an ad for a soda, one of the things that is going to be very prominent is the sound mix. So as you hear the can open or the bottle open, that sound is going to be really amplified, followed by the pouring and the sound of the ice tinkling together in the glass, and then the fizz. Those rhythms that you're setting up, people don't generally think of that as part of your branding, but it absolutely is. And just because that's the most obvious example of it, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist all throughout the rest of the marketing world. Most people think music is just the thing that's going to be in there, adding a little bit of color, keeping it from being boring, but in reality, music is doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the emotional impact that your message is going to have. And so to save that to the end is usually just a crazy thing to do. When it comes to marketing audiences, people have always known, marketers have always known that to some degree, the people that we're trying to message to, the people that we're trying to market products to, services to, they tend to be fairly savvy, and they tend to be aware when they're being marketed to and when someone's trying to manipulate them. And so, when it comes to something like music, you're actually able to have an avenue around that wall. As they're speaking words into a camera, right, and you're listening to what they're saying, you're consciously focusing on what they're saying, you're usually consciously focused on some of the visual elements, but you're not usually focused on the mood that it's creating within you. And in some ways, it's a little bit like lighting in that regard, right? Most people are aware when there's no lighting. People are aware when it's totally silent. But just the way that lighting can affect the mood of a message and what you're saying, music kind of lives in that same space, except no one really thinks about music early on in the process, whereas when you're filming a video like this, you're very, very aware of the lighting beforehand. Silence, one of the scariest things for sure. So when it comes to shooting videos, even when it comes to writing copy for a blog post, because we don't even think about this, but when someone is reading out loud, your words, even in their head, tend to have a bit of a musical flow, right? A cadence. And so, just like in music, silence is a really important tool. And it frequently doesn't get used because, in general, people don't like silence when they're creating things, right? It feels empty, it feels unfinished sometimes to the person that's actually creating, at least if they don't know what they're doing. But I think the people who really understand sound design, who really understand writing, and who really understand sonic branding as a whole, throwing a nice pause in there, some silence, a quieter point in the music, it helps to create that anticipation. And really, it helps to refocus the viewer's attention or the reader's attention. You need those kind of pauses within your messaging, within the emotional flow of your video.